Welcome to Monday Night Virtual Training. Yes, in a little while it'll be Monday Night Football, but right now it is all things FCA Huddles. I am Chad Revel. I am your host and moderator for the evening. I am an area rep here in the Southern Wake County area, home of the SWAC and a couple of other conferences. Tonight I am joined by my co-host, Gabe Williams, aka Jabril, the coolest guy you'll ever meet, area rep for the Northern Wake County area and schools. And then Mike, the OG White, area director for Person, Durham, and Orange counties. And then we are also joined by special co-host and panelist this evening you'll hear from later. That's Miss Tara Carroll, representing those orange and white Fuquay Bengals down in funky Fuquay Varina. And then Mr. Brandon Inge, who will join us here in a few minutes, representing those Golden Hawks of the Holly Springs Gold and Purple Hawks. They will join us later on for some information. So you joined tonight that we're in a new platform. As you've noticed, things have changed in 2020. And tonight we are talking all things virtual huddle. We'd love to be in person. We'd love to see each other, but we have a new platform because ministry does not stop. God has not stopped being God, and we're going to rock and roll and keep going. So for the next 45 minutes, you're going to hear some great truths presented about how to do virtual huddles, some great best practices that you can take and be equipped and continue to do ministry on your campuses, reaching those campuses virtually. As we talk about huddles, let's be reminded tonight what a huddle is and what a huddle is not. Now, a huddle is not a church or youth group. We are not the church. We are the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. We are a 501c3 non-profit. We're an extension or an arm. We're not a Bible study. As you talk to your friends, you're not inviting them to a Bible study, even though we talk about the Bible and we believe the Bible, we engage people through the Bible. We're not a Bible study. And then although your schools may label us this, we are not a Christian club as it pertains to how we describe ourselves. But what are we then? If you're saying, well, if you're not that, then what are you? We're an extension of the local church. The local church is, as we say, the little C. The big C church is the eternal believers worldwide, past, present, and future, those that are followers of Jesus Christ. That's the big C church. And the little C church is wherever you go locally. And where you spend time on a Sunday morning or Wednesday night and your youth group, that's the little C church. And you're an extension of that to come alongside of those churches. We're a light into the world. We're here to shed the light and point to Jesus and just invite anyone and everyone to participate and hear about that light, the truth of the gospel that is in salvation of Jesus and Jesus alone. And then we are a presenting ministry that shares Jesus. We're here to present and to share to you guys and then through your campuses and your community. So I appreciate you joining us tonight. I hope you got some notes to take. Before I turn it over to Gabe, I want to give you a couple little instructions. In the bottom of your screen, you'll see a little fancy dancy icon that says Q&A. You can put your questions in that little area, and we'll get to them at the end. We'll have a little bit of time at the end to answer questions. You can also email us. We'll have some resources later on where you can do that if you think of something later on, because we're here to serve you guys. As I mentioned, I'm in Southern Wake County. Gabe is in Northern Wake County. You'll also hear some staff on Wednesday night that represent other areas. And then Mike is over there in the Orange, Person, and Durham areas. So put your questions in the Q&A. And Gabe, man, share with us about huddles and some absolute, some strongly suggested and personal references.
Okay, great introduction, Chad. Thank you for reminding us what a huddle is and what it's not. But again, I'm Gabe Williams. I'm the North Wake area rep, and I'm going to share with you some absolute truth, some mandatory elements, if you will, about how to operate from your virtual setting. So the first one, if you're following along, if you have this document, if you don't, you will receive it. But the first bullet point is huddle coaches and student leaders must have an approved MLA and student leadership application. First, let me tell you this, any coach, teacher, or parent serving as an FCA sponsor is what we call a huddle coach, right? And he or she must have an approved MLA, ministry leadership application, in order for that huddle to be certified, right? And students and athletes, you must complete a student leadership application as well in order to, so you have to apply for this leadership position that you're choosing. And the MLA, there's a link. There's a link for that. We would click on that. It'll take you directly to that link. You can fill it out, huddle coaches. But for you student leadership applications, they are in the huddle packet in the FCA resources section below. And that's where you can find that information at. And huddle coaches, you should be dishing that out. That is something that you guys can have control over. Guest speakers, have a conversation with an FCA staff person before presenting to a huddle. And simply put, guys, this is just for the safety of everyone and that's attending your huddle. We want to make sure that you're safe and that we know who is speaking to you and in our ministry. And so please let that guest speaker have a conversation with that FCA staff person in your area. Number 3 is huddle coach should present and administer the meeting link, right? This huddle coach who has an approved MLA, they should administer this meeting link. This is, again, just an extra layer of security, if you will, in the virtual setting, and kind of combining the second point as well. Utilize the meeting password and waiting room for your protection, right? And this weeds out those unwanted guests. We've all heard of the Zoom bombing stories of unwanted material. And so please utilize these security measures. Again, this is for your safety and for the safety of everyone. And I believe that Google Meet is a standard in Wake County right now, which requires a Wake County school email. So again, this is just all extra security for your safety. So if you're not using Google Meet for whatever reason, please talk with your FCA area rep to figure out why you're not using Google Meet and what other options that you can explore. All right, let's move on right along. The last bullet point under the absolute truths here, the mandatory elements for your virtual setting. Follow the federal, state, local, FCA, and school district guidelines. You see a couple of links there for the CDC and the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services. Those guidelines are probably going to change from time to time as we're dealing with this pandemic, we're dealing with COVID-19. So if your school has said, hey, you can't meet in a virtual setting because we want you just to focus on the academics, listen, follow those guidelines. But then also you see another link which says Student Bill of Rights. Know your rights and how you can still operate. And so you see a couple other bullet points there. You can operate from a community huddle, right? There is an option there, a community huddle, which is just an off-campus huddle. So talk with your area rep to figure out what this looks like. We will discuss this on a case-by-case basis, but then also tune in Wednesday night to further learn how to operate in an in-person setting if you're going off campus. Okay, let's get into some strongly suggested best practices here. Conduct your meetings weekly or monthly for your leadership team. This is essential, all who are attending. Please conduct your weekly and monthly leadership meetings, because these meetings will help you to be better prepared when you're leading your actual huddles. And moving right along, meet weekly or at a minimum monthly for at least 30 minutes for your huddle meetings. I know some of you huddles are utilizing the social media platform to engage with others. However, I strongly encourage you to use social media in addition to meeting weekly or monthly to further engage, equip, and empower others. And I will talk about what that looks like just a little bit more in the personal preferences here. But also keep your huddle meetings student-led, and don't solely rely on your speakers. You have to mix it up a little bit. Student-led huddles are the best way to get the greatest impact from your peers, right? You want to lead them to Christ. This is the best way to do it if you guys are stepping up and leading to the plate. So don't overdo it with too many speakers. And another point is speakers to have an approved MLA. Just conduct a huddle run through, right? Conduct a huddle run through either the day before or after. Because I mentioned speakers who have an MLA, he or she may continue to minister. So if you want to have the speaker, have them get with us prior to, give us enough time to have this. And actually, I skipped one. I said conduct your huddles a day before or after or before. This just comes down to how well you are prepared to lead. Again, so speakers give us enough time to conduct the MLA process, and so we can get back with you on what that looks like if we need to follow up. Moving right along to personal preferences. These are just some optional ideas that you guys can have here. Open the chat room up for questions and dialogues. This is a great way to use as an icebreaker. Most huddles utilize this to kind of just break the ice, exactly what it is. Some use Kahoot. That's just a great online tool in the virtual setting where you guys can, again, just engage and kind of unwind a little bit. So open the chat rooms up, get some good dialogue in there. I've seen some huddles use just one word responses, so it's not too much going on. You don't have to type a whole lot, but they're using would you rather, go to the beach or to the mountains, or what is your favorite Bible verse? And you just type simply your favorite Bible verse, and it's a great way to engage using the chat option there for dialogue, and using Kahoot, which is a fun icebreaker there. But also maintain connection through social media. I mentioned social media earlier, and also mentioned that some huddles are using this just to operate their huddles. But again, use that social media platform in addition to your huddle. So you want to maximize your engagement, but also use GroupMe. GroupMe is a great tool to use. I know some huddles are operating from that perspective to engage, and they're allowing students to tap into that format there. But then also use Remind, which is provided by your school, which is another great way to reach out to others. But then I mentioned earlier, schedule speakers far enough ahead so we can verify that MLA. That's probably should be more of a strongly suggested, but nonetheless, that gives us enough time so where we can verify this process if we need to follow up with them. And so guys, listen, if you have any questions, put them in the comment below. We will definitely try to get to some of those comments in the Q&A that we will have later on. But right now, I'm gonna toss it over to our Western Triangle director, Mike.
Thanks, Gabe. Appreciate it. Glad to be here. I want to take just a couple minutes and talk to you about some of the great resources that FCA has put together for huddle growth, and you can see them on your screen right now. The first one is the FCA Bible, Athlete's Bible. If you've been to FCA camp, you got one of these. There's one that comes in the huddle packet every year, and I think that each person attending this training tonight, you're going to get a free one. But that Bible is a great resource. It's got meetings already laid out for you, and you can pick the topics of the meeting you want to have. So take a look at that and use it as you plan your huddle meetings. One of my favorites is the YouVersion Bible app. If you have an iPhone, it's probably already downloaded to your iPhone, and FCA has about 25 to 30 Bible studies in the YouVersion app, and you can get on there and do those studies with your friends. It's not real time, but you can post comments after you've looked at it. This is a a look at the YouVersion website. But it's a great resource. I encourage you to do it. The Bible studies are not real long. Most of them are 4 or 5 days. And so try that out sometimes with your team or even with your huddle. The next one is the FCA resources. And you can find that on the fca.org website. When you click on resources, there's a number of different things you'll be able to see. One of them is new virtual training, and the other is growing in your personal faith. So it's a great resource. So get in there and look at that. Spend some time on the FCA website and see how you can use those resources to help you lead your teammates and your classmates to Christ. The faith response tool is a new tool, and it can be set up for a school or for a county. I'm not sure how we're doing it in North Carolina yet, but you can probably get it set up for your school, and you text a code that's set up for you to Go FCA, and you use that in the gospel presentation. If somebody prays to receive Christ and they text that code in, they're going to get a series of 4 texts back with some videos from people like Ben Watson and some other pro athletes reaffirming their decision to accept Jesus as the Lord of their life. And so it's a great resource. You asked your area rep and more about that. The E3 Disciple Playbook can also be found on FCA resources. I don't know if Alex is going to put a copy of that up, but all of our staff right now are leading someone through this. And so the E3 Discipleship Playbook is a resource for making disciples who make disciples. And it's a great tool. You can download that from our website. And next is the leadership camp videos. And I think, Alex, I don't know if you're going to play those or not. They can be found at the Triangle website. You can utilize those for any kind of leadership training you like. And then there's the core, and the core is 8. This is the leadership videos, and you can find those at the Triangle FCA .org/ministry site. Got a little ahead of you, Alex. Then the last thing I'm going to mention to you is the core. The core is a discipleship tool. It's the 8 essentials of the Christian faith, and you can get it at the FCA store or FCA gear, or you can download a copy of it free off the website. And then last but not least, the huddle packet. So every year you register your huddle, you should get a huddle packet in the mail with several different resources in it, and Students' Bill of Rights, one of the Bibles, and some other good things to help you with your FCA huddle at your school. Thanks. I'll throw it back to you, Chad.
You know, it would help if I unmute myself, because that would be fun to try to figure out what I said. Bad lip reading on FCA virtual training camp right now. We're going to institute that. Thank you, Gabe and Mike. As you guys see, they're incredible guys that you can reach out to in your areas. I want to give a quick shout out to West Johnson High School, who has joined us tonight. And no, we have not forgot about Johnson County. You are our little cousins to the south, and we love you dearly. So thank you guys for being on here. This document, just as a reminder to repeat what Mike said, this document that you're seeing on the screen, that our amazing director of operations, Alex Thompson, the wizard behind the veiled curtain right now that you cannot see, is putting up there for you. You're going to be able to find that document and all those links that Mike just went over for resources, and that Gabe just mentioned about strongly suggested and the absolutes for running a huddle. They can be found on our website at trianglefca.org/ministry. So if you go to our site, you will be able to find all those resources and get information about staff contact, events that are coming up. It is a great site and tool to use if you want to stay connected with all things FCA here in the Triangle. Okay, our guest panelists for some virtual huddle best practices. We have Mr. Coach Brandon Inge and Miss Tara Carroll. We're going to start with Brandon. Brandon is a coach and teacher at Holly Springs High School. These people, they're huddle leaders. They are doing what you're doing. They're boots on the ground every day, dealing with the ins and outs of doing a huddle. I've personally been able to witness and see both of these huddles in action. They're doing an incredible job. And we thought, hey, you can hear from us as FCA staff. We love you guys. We're here to equip you guys. We're here to give you all the resources and tools. But who better to hear how to do things than the people who are actually doing it? So, Mr. Inge, how are you doing tonight?
I'm well, Ted. How are you doing?
Good, man. Hey, take a few minutes and just tell us how you guys are doing your huddle at Holly Springs, because, man, I'm really impressed at how organized you guys are, how you're utilizing your time, how you're maximizing the time frame you have of 30 minutes, and how you're just doing everything with great excellence, which is one of our core values of FCA.
Thanks. I appreciate those compliments. Sometimes it doesn't feel as like sometimes it feels kind of haggard, but I'm glad it looks good from the outside there. I think it starts with our student leaders, and in the past we've had 3 and 4, and the last couple of years we've had 7 or 8. And I think that's really helped out the club as a whole, because if you only have 3, they tend to get kind of burned out almost if they're doing every other week or whatnot. So having a high number of leaders has been really key for us, student leaders, the past few years. And like you said earlier, I mean, it's a presentation ministry. So what we usually do is we kind of schedule out a month or 2 ahead, just kind of and pair them up. So pair 2 student leaders at once, and so that that helps with accountability and things like that. And normally, we'd have the breakouts after a little lesson and whatnot in the first part of the huddle. But what we're doing now is the same 2 leaders are kind of preparing ahead of time. And then the staff leaders, there's 3 staff leaders, including myself at Holly Springs. And we'll meet with them on Thursdays, do the quick run through. And the student leaders do a great job with getting the word out through a classroom and group me we have. But we really emphasize to our leaders every week, let's assume someone here has never heard the gospel before. Every meeting, we got to have the basic gospel message woven in to whatever you're talking about. And afterward, what we've started doing, I think that's helped the last two weeks, is we'll screenshot the participants and we'll divvy up those names to the student leaders, and student leaders will contact everybody who attended, all the students who attended, and just, hey, saw you're there, thanks for coming. Just you build that connection up so that they can see they were noticed and appreciated for being there. And I think that's helped as well.
Awesome. That was incredible information, and I hope everybody was taking good notes. But we were recording this virtual training camp, and I'm pretty sure, without being connected to Alex directly, that we will have this resource posted somewhere that you can go back and listen to it. Because if you guys noticed, Coach Ian just gave some incredible information on how to do your huddle. I hope you heard one thing that he said and heard it well, is that they plan ahead. We know things happen. Heck, look at 2020 and COVID. I mean, you have to be very flexible, but if you're planned ahead, you won't feel as angst. You won't be as confuddled. What a SAT word right there. Shows how old I am. But the planning ahead, and I've been a part of Coach Inge's preparation meeting with his leaders on Wednesdays, and I've sat in on their run through on Thursdays. And I think that's vitally important, that if you can do a run through, I get it that every huddle is created differently, and every leader is created differently, and you have some different nuances in the schools. But Coach Inge, man, Virtual high five, my brother. You are getting it done. This is how you socially distance high five with no issues. No sanitizer here. So thank you for being here, Coach Angie, and giving us the word and doing an incredible work there at Holly Springs. Now I want to bring in Miss Tara Carroll from Fuquay Varina High School. Miss Tara, I haven't met you personally, but I got to sit on your huddle, and my goodness, you guys are doing some incredible things over there at Fuquay, because when I looked at the screen, I saw 40 people on a huddle virtually. I said, okay, what are you doing? Are you somehow, mailing cookies to the kids? Are you like passing out money? I mean, I went back and told FCA, I said, look, we got to get this lady. She's doing something right. So Tara, thank you so much for taking your time to lead. I know it's a big deal for you to be here with your kids tonight. You're taking time away from that to be here to share with us. But would you please share with us like what you're doing there at Fuquay to engage the students virtually? I know we even have a question that we're going to get to here in a little bit in the Q&A. Somebody specifically asked what they can do to grow a huddle virtually. They said that there's only 5 to 8 students attending, and they feel they should be doing more as a student leader. So like I said, you had a big number. I saw 40. You guys are engaging well. It's obvious the fruit is there. So give us some insight on what you're doing to help that fruit produce virtually.
Thank you for the introduction. I think I wrote a list of a couple of things that I think have really made it what it is. And for one thing, I agree with Brandon. It wouldn't be what it is without our student leaders. But the first thing I think that we do is we're consistent. So I have be consistent. When we first started meeting virtually, I kind of sent out a Google form and I asked the group leaders when should we meet? And they all voted to meet 6:45 a.m. on Friday mornings, which is when we have met at school in the past. And I thought in my head, there's no way these kids are going to get up at 6:45 for this Google Meet. But first week, second week, it's been very consistent that we have had, 30 to 40 kids each week. And so right now that time frame's working. And I told the kids in the beginning that if we saw, we needed to change our time slot, we would. But so far, we have been consistent with that. And so the kids know every Friday morning, 6:45, they might be in the bed or something, but, they log on and they join us. And so the next thing I have is same thing that you guys have been saying is be prepared. We have just, the leaders have created a running Google Doc that they fill out and, who's going, we have the dates, who's going what week. If they need to change, they'll go in there and kind of switch up themselves. The student leaders are great about taking initiative to do that. We also have been, as far as being prepared, we have been using the YouVersion app. So that has really helped us as a group, and the leaders kind of know what to speak on. We follow that, and it goes right along with the devotions that they have been doing during the week with the YouVersion. So if you haven't been utilizing the YouVersion app, you guys, it's really awesome. And we've had a lot of participation on that as well. Kids will comment daily. We usually have maybe 5 or 6 students at least that'll comment each day on the YouVersion app. And I just keep encouraging that and telling them, keep on, like whatever you're saying is reaching someone else. So another thing I have is to just be open. So I have be consistent, be prepared, and be open. I try to be as open as I can with them. I might be the FCA leader. I might teach Sunday school, but my life is not all together. I struggle too. I have my struggles. And so I try to be open with them, and the leaders have been really good about that as well. Sharing some things that they go through. I think just letting them know we're human too, and just being open with them about that. And then another thing that we've tried to be open about is asking the kids, the FCA students that attend, is what they would like to hear. So we had them vote. We sent out a Google form and they voted, what would they like the next devotion to be on? And I don't know if y'all's kids are having the same issues, but stress and anxiety is a huge thing right now. And so that was the majority vote. And so we picked our next U version on anxiety, and because that's what they, needed help with right now. Another thing is be connected, and you guys have already listed lots of these tools, but we are on Remind. And make sure, I forgot this in the beginning, but if you had a Remind group last year and you have a Remind group this year, make sure to post it on the old Remind, tell them to join the new Remind. I forgot that at first, and after I sent it out, I had like 20 more kids join the Remind. So, and then, I do send out Google Forms to take attendance and stuff like that. But I really like the idea of taking a screenshot in the Google Meet. I hadn't thought about that yet, so I'm going to probably start trying to do that too. We do have a Google Classroom, and we post on that, and that's where the kids all join the Google Meet every Friday. So they just like they do for their classes at school, and that's another way we're consistent too. Go to Google Classroom, click on the Meet link, and then I don't have a Twitter, so if anything's on Twitter, the student leaders do that, and as well as posting stuff on Instagram. So just be connected with the social media. And the last thing I have is be in prayer. So just you as a huddle leader, just constantly be in prayer. These kids need it. Pray before meetings, pray weekly for these students, and pray for your student leaders, and pray for seeds to be planted. And, these, kids that may not know the message, that they will, come to a meeting and learn the gospel. So that's our main things, I think, that we've tried so far.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Tara. Man, those were incredible words. And by the way, I spoke with the wizard behind the veil. And yes, this virtual training is being recorded and will be shown on our YouTube page. So I hope you're following that. Tara, what an incredible just connection. I hope you guys really just pinpointed what she was saying about authentic relationship. Our E3 playbook that Mike mentioned earlier is all about that. It's about how do we engage people with authentic relationships. Nobody, actually everybody lives in a glass house pretty much. Nobody has it all together. Jesus was the only perfect. So that spoke to me. A lot of great stuff there, and you can see why they are getting a great attendance with the engagement there. It doesn't hurt that Tara is such a likable person. So that's a good thing, because I've already been on that huddle at 6:45 in the morning, and it is very early. Although I just have to walk from my bedroom to my office because of virtual, but it's still 6:45 in the morning. So great job, Coach Inge and Tara. I'm going to get to some questions now. We have a few here in the chat box. Doing great on time. That's what happens when you get teachers involved. They stay right to the task. Our first question comes from someone that will remain anonymous, but we know him very well. He is a high-level operative in FCA, and he asked, how many days before the huddle should the prospective speaker converse with the FCA staff? And he gave a couple of thoughts. Mike and Gabe, you guys can chime in on this one as well. I would personally suggest you want enough lead time and run time that the Triangle FCA person can talk and kind of vet that situation out. So I would say maybe a week before, because I know I speak a lot at huddles and whatnot, and if I had to meet with a staff person or a huddle leader a day or two before, and then something didn't work out, it kind of throws things into chaos. So going back to that whole be prepared statement we heard earlier, I would say at least a week. Mike, Gabe, any thoughts on that question?
Yes, definitely a week at best there, just to give us enough time to go through that MLA, or just to have a follow-up conversation, not necessarily the MLA at this point, but just to kind of reiterate the fact that if that individual does persist on speaking in our ministry, then we will follow up after that first initiative conversation to have that speaker fill out the MLA. But you said it perfectly. Give us about a week heads up so we can have a conversation. And if we need to, dig a little bit deeper, and for whatever reason, we have that time frame to work with.
Awesome. Thanks, Dave. And then I read this question earlier when Tara was discussing best practices of how they basically engaged the huddle there at Fuquay, and Maddie had asked that question about growing the huddle virtually. So I hope you took good notes and heard Tara's answer on that about the engagement, just how they're being prepared. Actually, if you heard a consistency of both Tara and Brandon, there's a consistency of preparation. There's a consistency of actually them two being engaging and just being intentional. I will tell everybody, whether you're adult or student, you're gonna have to be intentional. If you wait around for somebody else to do something, nothing will ever get done. God has gifted us all. He has tagged us all. He's given us all talents, abilities, and gifts, and He's called us to go out into the world. And sometimes that beginning, that journey may be that it's just you and you alone. And so, Maddie, do not get discouraged at only 5 to 8 students. That's 5 to 8 souls right there that you can engage, you can pour into. Numbers are an American thing. Numbers are an entertainment thing. We're not worried about the quantity of people at your huddle. It's the quality of the authentic relationship. So if it's just one person that's willing to meet weekly, then you win. God says, go make disciples. He didn't give a number behind it. Those numbers are for grades and stats on a sports field or court. So we just implore you and encourage all you guys. If God's called you, be intentional. Go after it. Get it done. It may be hard, but the fruit and the harvest is worth it. So Maddie, keep rocking and rolling. We're here as a resource. Go to our website. This is going to be on the website with the YouTube channel, so you can go back and listen to it again. So you can write down some of those good best practices and begin to go and flow there. I guess I just rap for the kids. Wicked. I mean, sometimes I'm talented like that. And then Maddie, you can always email one of your staff, depending on what area you're in, because I don't see what area you're in, but our staff are on our website of the areas. And then here's a question from another high FCA operative, and this is for Brandon. Brandon, if you're still here and ready to answer, what FCA resources, Brandon, have you felt to be the most useful?
Okay, can you hear me now?
We got you, brother.
Okay, gotcha. I'm not sure it's specifically one. I mean, I think human resources with the student leaders again, and they're deciding and pouring over and planning out what messages to deliver. And I mean, obviously the Bible, but the human resources, I think, have been huge there. And if they have trouble, I mean, a part of our run through a couple of days before is, how do we start it? What's a hook we can have to engage the student audience? What's a Bible story that relates to their topic? So I'm not sure it's one particular thing, but with the human resources with excellent student leaders has been awesome.
Nice, thank you. And you guys heard Tara earlier talking about the YouVersion app, and I wanted to even encourage that. What a great app. I even use it personally for my own quiet times. You can set an alarm. All the plans are in there. I've been going through the entire Bible. I don't do it too often because I want to dig deep, and sometimes going through the entire Bible is a lot of information that you can just kind of miss a really intimate relationship with the Lord and some specific things. But I've just been going through that the past year myself, and it reminds me, and I can catch up if I missed a day or two. And then I know even with my family, we have a group chat. I have 4 kids of myself, and even in our family group chat, we'll post things from YouVersion, and we'll share a plan and utilize that within our own family. So it is a great resource and allows you to invite friends and allows you to chat and do those things. So great resources. All righty, we are at the end of our time tonight, right on time. So I appreciate all of you being out here tonight. Do not forget to go to our trianglefca.org/ministry to get the document and the resources. Just go to the site for all things Triangle FCA, and do not forget to come back on Wednesday night as we will talk about all things in-person huddles. Same time, 7:30, the same link. Come back and join us. I'm proud of you guys. Keep getting after it. Thank you for my host and my guest panelists, and we will see you later on. Go Wolfpack. And I would say go Cowboys, but I've already said it. But go Cowboys. Thank you, guys. Have a great evening.